2 more members to arrive to be able to reach any decisions. Also, I'll repeat, especially for people who have arrived since, to please inform me in writing. I think that's already underway, if you are present. However, we are now in session. I think that's Georgia just telling me that they are present. Indeed, it is, yes. That means we are 6 countries and still need another country more to reach any decisions. We are waiting. We are waiting on printouts of draft resolutions that have been submitted. And I give the floor to 1-minute speeches to detail what you've been doing and what your agenda for the upcoming draft resolution editing process is. Are there any countries wishing to give such speeches? Just to be clear, if you want to give a speech, raise your placard, and you will want to raise it now. Okay, no one willing to give a speech. That means we'll have to wait until either the draft resolution, no, until the draft resolutions have arrived and enough people to vote on them. That means we can't do anything. I will adjourn this meeting until 9:30, seeing that not enough people are here yet, and we're still waiting on the draft resolution. You're allowed to leave the room and mingle, and perhaps even work on some other documents until 9:30. Thank you. Please use the time to do that. Don't just sit around. We're trying to get some work done here. You're supposed to be working and collaborating and not just sitting there and reading whatever you're doing. Please get together in your groups and try to get some work done now. USA or Japan, when you're finished talking, could one of you please quickly come here? No hurry though, or both, yeah. Just for those who arrived late, we are in adjournment until 9:30, and if countries arriving late, please inform me in writing that they are now present. Delegates, please return to the seats allocated to you in the chamber. And be advised that we just received another draft resolution. Give me a second, because that's not the document Oh. Okay, I see what they did. Okay, fair enough. There's a number of documents here, which we'll now have to sort out and see what exactly they are. Yeah, those are just the updated draft resolutions on the first agenda item from yesterday. So I quickly have to check back with the Secretariat what's going on, why they didn't hand in the document that we asked for. Sorry about that. Okay, I just asked Secretary what's going on, and I hope to hear back from them soonish. Let's give them another 3 or 4 minutes, and if I don't hear back from them, we'll just have to wing it and ignore Secretary and do it this way, because we can't just be waiting for them for hours without anything happening. So let's just give them 3 or 4 more minutes and then see how we'll go on after that. Whilst we're waiting, you can all grab one of the amended draft resolutions for agenda item A. That's on the table here. Should be 3 or 4 pages. Just grab one, stow it away, and look at it nicely. We might need it later. Maybe Georgia can just grab them for the whole committee and just pass them around. Thank you. It's 3 pages each. Once again, this is the amended draft resolution on agenda item A. There has been debate on it. There will only be the vote on it later. Okay, in fact, whilst we're waiting for that document and another draft resolution, there's just no sense in sitting around and I don't know, holding hands or whatever. So I'll adjourn the meeting once more. Without a vote, there's not going to be any contradiction on that. I just won't tolerate that. I'm being dictatorial right now. And we'll just commence with some more training, perhaps do some speeches training, and we'll just continue proper committee session, hopefully before coffee break. The way things are going after coffee break, I have no idea how soon we'll have our stuff ready. We'll just commence meeting after that. Feel free, or please stay at least in the vicinity of the room. You don't have to participate in the training thing if you don't want to, but please stay nearby so that as soon as we have documents, I can call people back in and we can start. So the meeting is adjourned until further notice. Of those resolutions, as soon as we have them, rather focus on amending them. Okay. Let's do it this way. So the first step is going to be, when you get a resolution, what are you going to do with it? You read through it, and for that I've got two pens. I've got a blue and a red one. And I'll just mark, just reading through it, not thinking about too much, just going through it. I'll mark things I really like, and most importantly, I'll mark things I don't like. And not me personally, as a delegate, I'm speaking now. When I'm a delegate, I read things, and as soon as I see something that I think, okay, that could be bad for my country, I just give it a little red mark. If it's something that's an absolute no-go for my country, like I was Chile in Montreal, if the resolution said all Southern American countries beginning with a C will have to pay money, I'm going to scratch it out, bigly, as Trump would say, in red color. If it's something I'm not sure about, I'll just make a red question mark. Come back to that later, and just quickly go through the resolution to see how many things are there that you're bothered by, how many things are there that you don't understand but think could be problematic. If you just don't understand them but don't think there'll be a problem, just make a blue question mark, or devise a way for you to mark your document so that whenever someone says draft resolution 4, clause 13, you just have to open it and you'll see what your thoughts are on that. Because you can't remember everything. Just make sure you mark it. And that's the first step. And then if I see, okay, let's say it's a resolution, it has 10 clauses. And of those 10 clauses, I've marked 5 in red. Now, I won't want that resolution to be passed. Also, it's highly unlikely I can amend it enough. I mean, I talk to people, but it's not likely I'll amend half the resolution and people will still be happy. If it's small amendments, fair enough, but it's striking whole clauses, it's not going to happen. If I've got a resolution that has, like, I don't know, 1 or 2 clauses that are marked red, I can talk to people. Hey, Panama, I saw your resolution. I like it, but there's 2 things I don't like. It's this and that. And maybe he'll say, oh, right, I didn't think of you in that. Okay, yeah, we could change that. And then we'll work on changing that. Or maybe he'll say, yeah, well, that's no problem. I can always still try to make an amendment, but it's not worth amending a resolution that has everything that you hate in it. Then rather say, okay, I'm going to vote against that, and I'll try to find another resolution I like. Now, later there's going to be 2 resolutions handed, or they have been handed in, they're going to be printed out. One has been written by the US, Japan, and Latvia. I've only had a quick look at it, but the last one says Security Council, and so it's going to be something along the lines of, hey, Egypt, if you don't respect women, we're going to nuke you. You don't like that, obviously. There's going to be another one handed in by some Latin American countries and some African countries, perhaps. I've seen the document, but haven't had time to read it. It's probably going to say something like, well, we've got to be slowly and take care of the smaller countries and whatever. Now, if you are not the author of any of those resolutions, think about which country am I? And which position do I like more? Now, say, for instance, Egypt is not part of any resolution. I don't know if you are, say, for instance. Now, or let's not say Egypt, because that would give you an advantage by me telling you what to do. Let's say Pakistan. I just, assume Pakistan is similar to Egypt in this case. Maybe they're not, just for the sake of the argument. Let's just say they are against women's rights and so forth. Just for the sake of the argument, let's say that. Now, they see this document. Are they going to side with the American document? I don't think so. They will like the African, Southern American document. But maybe they'll think, okay, we still need to, this needs to be stronger. They say women's rights are important, but let's be slow. We as Pakistan think there shouldn't be any women's rights. Once again, I'm not sure if Pakistan really thinks that. I'm just saying they do for the sake of the argument. Now, there's 2 options. You can either write in a clause or strike the clause that says women's rights are important, but most probably that will be voted down because everybody else thinks women's rights are important. But maybe you can amend the clause so that it doesn't say women's rights are important, but rather says countries should consider whether women's rights are important or why they are important, which doesn't say they are important. So water it down. Now, say for instance, Pakistan put in a clause, an amendment, into that resolution saying women's rights are bad. Now, tactically speaking, it might be clever for the United States to vote for that amendment. And why so? Because you want that resolution to fail. You want the other people's resolution to be as bad as possible. So if someone is editing total stupid stuff in there, that's tactically speaking now not very good diplomacy. You know, I'm just talking about negotiation tactics in general now. At the UN, you're supposed to always vote for the best outcome, obviously. You know, but if this is just a negotiation thing, and modern United Nations is training people, you know, for the real life, and the real life is not just UN and holding hands and being nice to each other. It's also, you know, I don't know, some companies and you've got to fight or whatever. Bless you. You'll want your own proposal to be as good as possible and as agreeable as possible to as many people as possible, and the other one to be as non-agreeable as possible, as bad as possible. So those are the things you're going for. Here, let's just focus on making it as good as possible. Let's be nice for once to each other. So that's what you have in mind when it comes to amendments. That being said, I'd like to give you a short, let's have a training, more of an interesting, you know, talk on speeches. Now, so far, most of the speeches you held here were speeches you prepared in advance, and you, most of you, and that's perfectly fine, basically read the text you had prepared. So you went into teaching mode, as in inform yourself about your country, and then read that, be it a Wikipedia article or be it your own doctoral thesis, brilliantly done. The principle stays the same. You're telling people something you think they need to know. And that is good. But maybe you want something more. So the question is, what do you want to achieve by those speeches? There certainly are speeches where you need to be informative and informative only. Take university, for example. If you're a professor, you're going to hold a speech and you'll want to inform your students. If, however, you want them to learn or participate, you need another speech. You understand why? What kind of speech do you need to motivate your students? Say again?
Interacting with the audience.
Interacting with the audience, indeed, yes. Was that a knock?
Loudly.
Speak loudly as well.
Loudly and interesting, emotional.
Emotional, indeed, because you want them to do something, right? I mean, a teacher wants people to learn something. Once again, that's important. However, you will want people to do something. So there's got to be some sort of call for action. If you're doing it very brilliantly and your audience is listening, you can't just tell them facts and they'll draw the conclusions by themselves. I don't know, if you talk about climate change, for example, we've got your president, I mean, United States president, wanting to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement right now. So if you deliver a speech and just report the facts, this planet is dying and so forth, in 25 years we'll be, or 50 years we'll all be dead. If there's a person with a brain, they should understand that that means, okay, we've got to act. But it's much easier to state a few facts and then in the end say, okay, and that's why we've got to do something. So you want to bring across a message. How do you, bless you, bring across a message? Try to make it short and precise. You can talk for 10 minutes and give 25 points, and in the end, no one will understand, will remember anything. If, however, you make 2 points and make them well, they will stick. And now a good way of doing that is basically by getting up, saying what you're going to say, and then saying it. Sounds stupid, but something along the lines of, I mean, if I wanted to, let's go back to Burger King. If my message was, the Whopper is the best burger at Burger King. Don't know if it is. Burger King is over there, we'll check later. If I wanted to give a speech on that, I'd basically start by saying something along the lines of, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you today, in 35 seconds, why a Whopper is the best burger at Burger King's. I've told you already. I could sit down, because I brought across my message. And I'm going to give you some proof for that. I don't have any right now, so I can't give you any. I'm going to say something along the lines of, not only do you have the option to add a second piece of meat to it, but also there's cheese, and there's all the sauces combined that you get in normal hamburgers. You get some pickles, you get the cheese, you get double the beef. There's just no better burger than a Whopper, and that's not even counting the amazing bread it's on. And so that is why a Whopper is the best burger you can have. And now, let's go and buy one. So basically, say what you're going to say it, repeat it once again for those who forgot already what you were trying to say. And then if you want them to get to do something, tell them to do it. Don't expect your audience to jump to conclusions, because that would mean they have to pay like 110% attention. And let's be honest, even the best speakers, they only get about 90% of attention. There might just be this one piece of dirt under your fingernail, or there might just be some itch here, or interesting lights up there. I mean, pay attention later during closing ceremony. Try to pay attention to the speakers and what they're saying. And I promise you, you'll be distracted 20 times during each speech. Be it, I don't know, the undersecretary for media and design coughing, and you're like, oh. Be it the curtain moving because the master of ceremony just pushed down his laptop behind the curtain. What's going on there? Be it, I don't know, a light flickering up there, which happens all the time and it distracts me. It's been distracting me since Wednesday. Be it the person using a word that you either don't understand or you think is funny or you're unfamiliar with. Be it the person in front of you sort of whispering to its neighbor, and you're thinking, okay, what's going on? I want to be part of the joke as well. There's so many things happening. So you can't expect your audience to always pay attention. I'm not expecting you to pay attention. I think some of you pay attention, but I don't expect much more than 50% of what I'm saying actually reaches you. So repeat, repeat, repeat. If I keep repeating stuff, even if I go on your nerves with that, are they going to say, wow, that guy is brilliant, yeah, he's right? Or are you going to say, okay, I've got it, go on, but you'll remember it. And so that's something to do. And another thing, and that's something I'd like to practice now, for those who came in just now, as we're waiting for the 2 draft resolutions that have been sent overnight to be printed, I just decided to adjourn the meeting once more and continue with some training stuff. So I talked about how to do amendments, how to go about that. I'm not going to repeat that, I'm sorry. You guys either see them on YouTube sometime, or hopefully not, or just ask whatever they remembered and perhaps 1 or 2 things stuck in their minds. And now we're talking a bit about speeches. Now, to just show you how little stayed behind, I'm going to ask for a volunteer quickly, who was here all the time while I was giving my speech. Nothing bad, nothing bad. Okay, come to the front. Now, Amnesty International is going to repeat to you
Everything what you have said.
how to go about, you know, imagine the situation. She's sitting in committee room, you're a country now, and you've received a draft resolution, completely fresh from the printer. I mean, it's 4 pages long, there's so many words, so many letters, how do you start? How do you go about reading that? What do you do? And what do you consider when making amendments? And I'm going to look for some water quickly because I'm getting a dry throat.
So when I will take a new resolution, I will look through it and I will put, I will make some marks, like what I have understand, what I am for and what I am against, what I don't like, what I'm like surprised at, like maybe I like it or maybe not. Putting some gestures so that the next time when I will look through it, I will understand what thought I have about this resolution and what I think about this resolution, so that because I may forget after, and then this will remind me. What else?
Okay, and how to go about amending stuff?
So for example, when you're looking through the resolution, if you don't like the full resolution, perhaps you don't have to make so much amendments, because if you don't like the all, like maybe the more than half of resolution, then you will propose the new resolution made by yourself. And if you only have some like one or two clauses you don't like, you just may make some amendments, like by asking that countries who propose that previous resolution, like maybe you may make some changes, and it may be beneficial for both of you, like you and that previous country. So, like, if you don't like just 1, 2, 3 clauses, you may make amendments, and if you don't like more than half of the resolution, you should propose your own resolution.
Well done, thank you. You could have clapped now, but no, fair enough. Don't stick too closely to the half and 1 and 2, but you know the basic principle counts. But yeah, fair enough. Now, who of you likes eating pizza? Show of hands. Okay. Who of you knows what a pizza Hawaii is? It's ham and pineapple. Who of you thinks pineapple does not belong on pizza? Okay, usually people are more divided on that. Okay. Who of you likes Coca-Cola? And who of you likes Pepsi? Okay, I'd like to have Team Coca-Cola over there, Team Pepsi over there, and Team Absolutely No Different over here. Quickly stand up. All those to say, okay, Pepsi.
Here, team don't like that.
Okay, Pepsi, Coke, Pepsi, they're absolutely the same and they're great. They're the same and they're terrible.
It is good for your eyes.
Team Pepsi? Your Team Coke?
I'm just.
Okay, please hurry up. Hurry up. Pepsi over there. You are?
Absolutely.
You're the we hate it all. Okay, right. Now, we're going to hold a little mock debate. But you are going to be arguing that Coke is the best drink ever. You are going to argue that both are terrible. You are going to argue that both are great. And you're going to argue that Pepsi is the best drink ever. And I don't know which group you belong to, you're going to choose one. Okay, your team Pepsi, your team Coke, your team nothing, your team both. Okay? Please find your seats again. I'm going to call you by country names. I'll give you 2 or 3 minutes for each of you to prepare a 30-second statement or speech. I'm then going to draw up a speakers list. I want all of you to raise your placard to be added to the speakers list. I don't remember who's on which side, so I can't be biased. I'm going to call you one after the other. You also. Okay, I'm going to call you one after the other and expect you to give a speech round about 30 seconds, certainly no longer than a minute. I'm going to stop you after a minute maximum. Try 30 seconds. And I want you to have a real discussion and debate. So note down a few points there. They need not be absolutely true. There should be some, I mean, don't say, oh, well, Pepsi gives you cancer and Coke makes you healthy. That's ridiculous. But, you know, you can make things up a little bit. I don't expect you to know the specifics about Pepsi and Cola. So make some things up again. You can be a bit creative. And I want you to reply to each other in those speeches. So maybe if, say for instance, the none of all person speaks first and says, well, both things are just basically sugar in some brown water, and it's terrible for your health, and then sits down, maybe the Coca-Cola person gets up and says, well, but you know, it's all about the taste, and you need sugar to have the taste, and Coca-Cola has the best taste, and whatever. So I want you to reply to each other and talk about that. I'll give you a few minutes, and then I'll ask you all to raise your placards to be added to the speakers list, and then we'll have a little mock debate. Thanks. Can you get ready with the next minute? Yeah, you can. I mean, it's only 30 seconds. Now, I suppose you've all noted down at least a few bullet points which you think might be interesting. Now, I challenge you to keep in mind what I just told you about speech structures. So the ideal speech could look something like, pick one point the person before you said that you want to argue against or refute or make invalid or whatever, which you can't do now. You have to do that on the spot. And then say why you think that point is invalid or wrong or whatever. Then give one or two arguments and state once again that the point might be invalid. Try to be short, try to be precise, and please don't try to state the whole cause for Coca-Cola. Don't list all the advantages of Coke. It's not going to work and nobody's going to remember that. Don't try to state all the advantages for Pepsi. And certainly don't try to state all the advantages for not drinking either of them. Try to be precise. Focus on one or two of your bullet points. And I'd say the best way of going forward for a speech is usually to not have a written out text on your piece of paper, but rather have precise and clever bullet points. Basically, the 5 to 7 main words or sentence fragments, bless you, you will want to include, and the rest of the words is going to come all by themselves. You don't need to write down and this is. That's something you'll always remember. The important things are, I don't know, taste or sugar or color or I don't know, something like that. If you have them written down, you'll always find the way through your speech and you can't get lost. If you only have 6 words on your piece of paper, it's hard to get lost. If you have 257 words on your piece of paper, well, good luck. Okay, I'll ask for your placards in 1 minute. Okay, delegates, welcome to our crisis meeting on the important question of whether people should prefer Coca-Cola or Pepsi. Please, for the opening statements of all delegates present, please, all those wishing to be added to the speakers list, and that should be everyone, please raise your placard now. We've got Latvia. We've got Kyrgyzstan. Amnesty International. United States of America. Egypt. Côte d'Ivoire. Maybe. Yeah. Human Rights Watch. Brazil. Please don't shout your country name. Instead, rather show your placard which says your country on it. Japan. Anyone else? Oh, Georgia. All right. We'll then close the speakers list. I've got the following countries: Latvia, Kyrgyzstan, Amnesty International, United States of America, Egypt, Côte d'Ivoire, Human Rights Watch, Brazil, Japan, and Georgia. Please, in that order, approach the podium. I'll repeat it, don't worry. Approach the podium for your statements. Aim for 30 seconds. I'll stop you after 1 minute maximum. Please, Latvia, you have the floor. And I'll give a sign, just like a knock after 20 seconds, and another knock after 45 seconds. And then I'll start waving when the 1 minute line approaches. Latvia, you have the floor.
Thank you, dear Chairman, distinguished delegates. Thank you for being here on this important topic. So, I think that Latvia thinks that neither Coca-Cola, not Pepsi is healthy and good. For the following, the main reason is because it is not healthy. It has a lot of sugar, and it's a common fact. And it also has a lot of components which are not healthy for people. So I think this is the most important and the only reason which we can have as a bullet point here. Well, thanks.
Perfect. That was 33 seconds. I'll give some feedback to each and every one of you later. I just note down the most important points. Just now, all the speeches after each other. Kyrgyzstan, and after that, Amnesty International.
Good morning, all delegates. Why danger is why is dangerous Pepsi and Coca-Cola? Because they contain all acids, and especially dangerous for our lungs, and this will be problems with our kidneys, and our metabolism is level decrease, and obesity, diabetes, and bone damage. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyrgyzstan. 20 seconds, absolutely perfect for the 30-second thing. Well done. Amnesty International, and after that we'll have the United States of America.
Good morning, honorable delegates, honorable chair. Today I would like to speak for cola, because I think, just imagine how cool it may be, how tasty it may be, just some ice, cola, and whatever you want. And by the way, it is also beneficial too, because it make easy your digestion and it increase your concentration. So I'm speaking for drinking some cola.
Well done, thank you. That was roughly 25 seconds. I have to guess because I only started the clock a bit late, but fair enough. Give me half a second to finish my notes, and then you'll have the floor.
Start.
Yes, United States start, and after that we are going to have Egypt.
The first is that the United States is proud that we're the country which made this great Coke. That's Coca-Cola. The first is that it's natural. It's made up the natural leaf of the plant, and it's made up the apotheker, which has a medical degree. And the Coca-Cola is very handy. You can drink it with meat, with pie, with everything, and it's very tasty. That's all.
Thank you. Just a quick piece of advice. Finishing a speech by saying, that's all, is a bit abrupt. Don't worry, but even thank you says the same but sounds nicer than that's all. So, and many people are doing that. I understand the notion behind that, and it is honest and direct. But keep in mind, diplomacy is not always about pure honesty. It's about honey-coated honesty. You know, you want your honesty to go down nicely. So say thank you instead of that's all, and it's the same message. It just sounds so much, you know, nicer in a way. But thanks. Egypt, I think, yes, and after that, Côte d'Ivoire.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, just want to talk about Pepsi and Coke. Pepsi and Coca-Cola are the most widely distributed products on the planet. And in fact, on average, more than 10,000 soft drinks from Coca-Cola are consumed every 10 seconds of every single day. And one question for you all: when you have parties or your friends come over, guests, what first comes to your mind? What do you buy for a drink when you have pizza? Let's keep it buying. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll hear from Côte d'Ivoire and Human Rights Watch after that.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and dear delegates. Today I'm talking on behalf of both Cake and Pepsi, and we do actually believe that Pepsi and Coke are the best drinks ever that you ever tried in your life. It tastes absolutely amazing, and you won't see any difference in both of them. Both have the amazing and absolutely unforgettable taste. If you buy both of them, you will have a double enjoyment. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to have Human Rights Watch, and we'll hear from Brazil after that.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, delegates. I want to say that, Coca-Cola and Pepsi are the best drinks whenever people try it. They are paradisical during every day during my long life, and based on my greatest life experience, I can say that day by day I'm becoming stronger and stronger because I'm drinking cola and Pepsi also. How much sense can we find in these two magic names, Coca-Cola and Pepsi? If I had children, I would call them Coca-Cola and Pepsi. You know, I finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was an interesting approach. Brazil and Japan after that. We're going to have Georgia, and I suppose Panama wants to speak as well. We'll have Panama after Georgia, and then Burundi after Panama, and Iraq perhaps as well. No. Okay. Then we are going to have Japan. Okay. No, Brazil, Japan, and then Georgia, Panama, Burundi.
Dear distinguished chairman and also delegates, today we're talking about the harm and danger of Coke and Pepsi and these drinks at all. Have you ever in your life have read the content of what of the ingredients that is made for and prepared a Coke? Have you ever watched the videos that are telling about the gender that things by using the Coke or Pepsi you can get rid of spots such as fat spot or on your clothes, on your furniture. So could you imagine if a human body is really vulnerable organism, so it could be destroyed by easily, I don't know, just little harm. But if the Coke is able to destroy and then get rid of fat spots on the clothes, so what can happen if it reacts on your organism? Thanks.
Thank you very much. We'll hear from Japan now, and then Georgia afterwards.
This world is full of jobs. Like we are exhausted after a long working day. We are isolated with the help of internet. and beverage that has passed through 5 quarters offers friendly atmosphere, energy, and motivation. So why not to drink Coca-Cola with friends, get integrated, get energy? We are for international cooperation, and international test Coca-Cola offers it.
Thank you very much, Japan. We'll hear from Georgia and Panama after that.
Thank you, distinguished chair, honorable delegates. Obviously, Coca-Cola is one of the popular drinks in the world, which is broadly spread. However, it is one of the harmful drinks in the world. According to the recent research, Coca-Cola has a very harmful content. Despite of this, people are still drinking. Therefore, the delegate of Georgia thinks that Coca-Cola shouldn't be sold in the world, and there should be taken a resolution against Coca-Cola. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. And we'll continue with Panama and then Burundi after that.
Thank you. Pepsi has the best taste among the sodas because it has the best scientists. And also, Pepsi is the sweetest soda and costs less than others. And also, it doesn't get warm easily and it's easy to drink. And you get Pepsi at KFC.
Thank you, Panama. And we'll hear from Burundi lastly.
Good morning, all distinguished delegate. Today, the delegation of Burundi says that the Pepsi is the best sodas in the world because today we have proving of scientists that is one of the best drinks among the sodas. For healthy because sugar is less and lower than in Coca-Cola or other sodas. Because of it, I think that Pepsi is more useful for healthy than other sodas. Because of it, Pepsi is the best.
Okay, thank you. As you might have seen, I've filled 3 lovely pieces of paper with rather illegible notes. I'll try to go through each of your speeches now and remember as much as I can from the crazy notes I had to take down while you were speaking. But before that, I see there's a lot of messages going on in the chair group on Facebook, so I'll quickly go through that as important messages. Oh, they delayed the coffee break to 11:45 to 12. Which is bad. But then again, it's none of our business now. I told them I don't like that, but we'll just go on and yeah, we'll see how much we can do. Now, Latvia started with the first speech, and whilst I like the speech, I'd say you spend an awful lot amount of time on greeting people and saying what we're here for, which is okay for the first speaker, but you started giving content after 17 seconds. Now, for a 30-second speech, it was half the speech only gone for hello, nice to be here, and so forth. So that's something, you could work on, make that shorter or whatever. And also make sure you have a strong ending. Like the ending was your weakest part. You sort of just went quieter and then got away, which was like, okay, goodbye, I guess. So try, and that goes for everyone now. That's just an example to illustrate it. First thing, greeting. You are talking to a committee with a chairman or president. So you usually greet both of them. The standard formula for greeting at Model United Nations is usually Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates. You can add a thank you to that, which implies you thank the chair for calling you. You can add a good morning or whatever, but that can be done in 4 seconds. And also, I'll come back to that later for someone. I'm not sure if it was Burundi or perhaps Georgia. I can't find it now. But one of you spend about 10 seconds on the greeting, being like, good, yeah, good morning, I guess, you know, to you and to you as well. And if you've got your greeting sorted out, you can start right away. And that saves so much time. So make sure you've got that clear. And also make sure you have your ending clear. Like what I learned when trying to give a speech, have your last sentence memorized. Like the last sentence is the most important sentence of all. Maybe the last 2 sentences. The first one is important, but the last sentence is so important. Make sure you know how long it takes to make that last part of the point, and everything else just needs to lead up to that. Make sure you reach your last sentence, and that needs to be a strong sentence. Apart from that, Latvia, well done. Just make sure you've got that last point in there. Kyrgyzstan, I liked how you said right away, I'm not sure if you were, I think you were against both as well, right? Yeah. Saying, well, it's just dangerous. And then you said, it's dangerous because it has acids, and that makes it dangerous, huh? Yeah, exactly. And that makes it dangerous for. So you kept repeating the word dangerous. And you said it's dangerous. You said why it's dangerous. And you said why what you claimed to be dangerous is actually dangerous and what for. That was good. The word that stuck in my mind is dangerous, and that's all you wanted to have. Amnesty International. Very engaging speech. You were smiling all the time. You were standing, you know, sideways, leaning on the podium, enjoying the stage, it seemed, and sort of not in a suggestive way, but sort of flirting with the audience in a nice and good way, you know, trying to win their sympathy over, which can be so important. I mean, if somebody whom I like says something I don't really like, I might actually think about it twice. If someone I hate says something I really like, come in. Says something I really like, I'm not going to consider that again. So well done for that. And in fact, what you said was you know, fitting to that. You couldn't have had another speech with that. You couldn't have had the dangerous speech with that. Be like, oh guys, I mean, it's dangerous, you know, you don't want to. That wouldn't have worked. But being like, oh, it's so cool and it's so tasty and it's and you were smiling all the time and you're just giving people the feeling of having a nice time. Your speech was like a little Coca-Cola party, or Pepsi party, or both. I don't know. Yeah, no, you were for cola. Yeah, right. Good. USA. I liked how you pointed out the versatility of Coke. That was a new approach, as you can have with the steak and burgers and pizza and everything. That was a good point, even. You stated that you were pro Coke, and I really liked how you said, you know, we're the country of Coca-Cola. So you sort of also gave a reason why you obviously have to be for Coca-Cola. And you literally identified with the product with your opinion. And that was very clear. And now you are going to be the Coca-Cola person. That was very well done. You did a listing, sort of a list of many things. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything. Not while the camera is running. You did the list of things, which can be good, but it can be dangerous. It did not get boring, but you shouldn't have made it any longer. You know, if you added 1 or 2 things, I think we would have forgotten the beginning of your speech. But well done. A good list, and it came to an end rather quickly. Egypt. I don't. It says silent here after Pepsi and Coke. I'm not sure why I wrote that down. Maybe you were silent after stating what you were trying to say. I don't know. Sorry, I don't remember that. What I do remember, though, is that you ended with a "let's go and buy some stuff" call for action. That was really good. Once again, you said that, you know, already. I had the feeling you were already leaving the microphone while saying it. Make sure you stay in there. So make sure you arrive, find your stance, then start talking. Talk. Finish talking, and then leave. If not for some reason you need that as a stylistic device, you know, to be shouting something whilst you're already halfway gone, which in your case was not the case. You stayed there, but I had the feeling you were already sort of withdrawing from the speech. Apart from that, the end was good. I'm sorry, I don't know what I meant by the silent thing. If it comes back to me later, I'll tell you again. Côte d'Ivoire, I liked your idea of the double enjoyment. I mean, you obviously know how to deliver MUN speeches. Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, that just came like, you know, going through. That's the basic thing you do. Okay, go on. So good speech, also time-wise, well timed, and then focusing on taste, which is good. And then, I mean, you had it hard in the sense that the speaker before you already talked about basically the same stuff, and then you went for double enjoyment. Look a bit more as though you're enjoying it when you say the word enjoyment. You know what I said about Amnesty International, about, you know, smiling and at this, you know, talking about a party and at the same time basically having a party. If you talk about enjoyment, you might want to be a bit more joyful whilst saying that, but that's, you know, high criticism now. Same goes, by the way, for when you're talking about. No, I'm going to say that when I come to Brazil, because she did it beautifully the other way around. Human Rights Watch. I was a bit confused during your speech at times, and I wasn't too sure what you were actually arguing for. I think you were arguing for both as well, right? For Coke and Pepsi, right? I'm not sure why or how you could have made that more clearer, but for some reason I wasn't sure all the time what you were talking about, until, of course, and that I'm never going to forget, you said you're going to name your children Pepsi, or you would name your children or whatever, Pepsi and Cola. And I liked your, you know, for all those long years I've been on the earth, I have the experience of that was good, you know, weaving in small little jokes and things that will make people smile. Most people like to smile, so if you say things that make people smile, that's a big bonus, and that will actually, you know, sort of keep you in good faith with people. So well done on that as well. Now Brazil, and that's the thing I was trying to point out earlier when they came to Côte d'Ivoire. Amnesty International did a very engaging. Don't be scared. It's good what I'm going to say. Did a very engaging, smiling. Oh, it's a party. You know, let's party together. Brazil, you went there, stood like that, leaned forward, and shouted into the microphone, "There's a danger!" And that was good. That was good. Because what you were trying to do was basically wake people up. They had all been talking about, oh, it tastes so nice and it makes you feel good and you're a party person and everybody likes you and all the cool kids drink the Coke or the Pepsi and you want to be cool as well. And, you know, it's all been so mellow and, you know, everyone was like, oh, yeah, lovely, butterflies. And then you come and be like, dangerous. That was good. And really, because, you know, the way you said it perfectly fitted to what you said. And that was good, and you can utilize that. You spoke in a very aggressive way, but then you spoke about how aggressive Coke is. You spoke about those videos where you see, you know, fat and stuff being dissolved, So your performance, just in the opposite way to Amnesty International, perfectly fitted to what you were saying. And that's good. It's always, I mean, it's strange if you say, well, and it's dangerous, if you're being nice and smiley, that sounds like you're some kind of maniac who enjoys killing people. So what you did was perfect. And also, you put in a stylistic device. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but at least twice you said, have you ever seen... There were two things, maybe a third one, I'm not sure, but there were two at least where you said, have you ever seen the video thing of that and that and that and that? Have you ever seen the... And that's repetition of a clause, and that's good, because it shows some structure. And it's like, have you ever seen this? Have you ever seen that? Do you know Martin Luther King's speech, I Have a Dream? He keeps saying, I have a dream, I don't know, 25 times or so. And it's not bad, because that is the structure of his speech. And so his I have a dream was your have you ever seen? It even rhymes. And in the end you said, could you imagine? And it's always good, appealing to the imagination of your audience. Because if you say, could you imagine, all those who listen will automatically start to imagine it. You cannot not think about something that you're being told to think or not think about. If I tell you, don't think about a pink elephant, you're now all thinking about a pink elephant. Haha, I fooled you. So if you tell people to think about something or not think about something, you leave the thought in their mind. And they can't resist. And that means you've engaged them. Japan, you turned towards the audience more than perhaps even Amnesty International. But you made that small mistake of doing it basically like this. Make sure you're turning to the audience and still have the microphone in your speaking direction. Because that way, at least for me, because I was sitting, basically behind you, because they were turning there, it made it a bit hard to understand everything you were saying. Especially since, especially after Brazil's shouting match, especially since your voice is a little quieter, your whole personality seems to be a little more, reserved and quieter, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you're aware of that. And just make sure when turning towards the audience, which is good, make sure you've still got the microphone, basically in the corner of your eye, and you're sort of speaking, not in the microphone directly, because that always, you get those sounds all the time. Rather try to, speak slightly past it, which many people did, and then you'll be understood better. Although I did understand some things you were saying, the first thing I can't really read, I wrote down, but it ends with people equals good. And you were talking about, it all ended up in the friendship thing, as in, were you talking about Coke alone or about both? Coca-Cola, I'm right. You were talking about that basically being the drink you would have with your friends. And that was good. And then you even went one step further, saying, with international community, shouldn't we love something that works towards a community? That was really clever. Because that basically told everyone, with the United States, with the United Nations, our job is to unite people. How can we not like something that unites people? And that was really, really clever. Starting and also if you started with the United Nations right away, we would have said, calm down. Don't say that Coke is going to save the United Nations. But you started with friendship, and everyone thought, oh yeah, right. Yeah, I have friends, and if we sit together, we like to drink something. Maybe it's Coke. And then you said, and we are basically a big friendship. That sort of made you a friend of everyone here, which is good. And it showed how Coke is important for the United Nations, even if that obviously is absolute, nonsense. But good point, really good point. Georgia. Right, your start. There you are. Your start didn't really convince me, because you said the first sentence was Coca-Cola is popular, and the second or third sentence was something like, but it's harmful. So at first I thought you were going to argue for Coca-Cola. actually this can be a strong stylistic device. You know, building up expectations. Like, for instance, if Donald Trump says anything against protecting the environment, we're all just going to roll our eyes and think, oh, well, you know, that's what he's going to say. If Al Gore, however, the big US champion of climate environment protection, if he now says something against it, we're all going to listen. Because, hey, he used to be of the opposite opinion. What made him change his mind? So you could have used that sort of, you know, surprising turn. But for some reason, it was more, you delivered it more as just a list of things you wanted to say, not as a surprise twist to catch people's attention. I'm not sure right now how to turn that rather, you know, basic information into a surprise twist. But so I was a bit confused at the beginning. What I liked, however, was your ending, because you literally said something along the lines of, "Let's make a resolution to stop selling Coca-Cola or any drink at all." I'm not sure, and that was good because you gave people sort of an order what to do, and that's something people can agree to. If there's anybody here who, you know, is a bit wary of Coca-Cola but doesn't really know what to do, you just gave them a straw to cling to. You just told them what to do, and that's leadership. I mean, telling other people, you know, guys, we got to make a resolution that stops the stops the selling of Coca-Cola, and that could solve the problem. That doesn't mean everyone is going to agree, but you've made a proposal, and people remember that, and people can, you know, thank you for making a proposal. Now, this proposal was rather easy, obviously, but if you stick to that principle, well done. Panama, you started saying Pepsi has the best taste, and so everyone knew what you were talking about. And then came a lot of stuff in between, a list of why it's good also, and you strayed away from the taste message. It stayed a bit on target first with the scientists, you know, the best scientists. But then we all know, you know, taste is a matter of taste and not a matter of science necessarily. You know, you stayed somewhat on message with it's the sweetest and so forth. But I felt, you know, there was just a long list of things that you sort of summarized under the heading of taste, but they were, you know, separate points if you looked at them closely. That's not bad. I just say either make sure everything you say is then used to sort of build the fundamental base for your argument of taste, or make sure your argument of taste is not as big, or even, you know, just sort of the catchphrase at the beginning and then have your arguments after that. Your speech was good, don't get me wrong. I just wrote down long list for the middle part and was a bit confused. Okay, what exactly is going on? I remember you were talking about scientists and about the sweetness and stuff. So it all relates to taste somewhat, but it wasn't so clear. It was a bit, you know, wobbly. Your ending, however, all of a sudden bringing KFC into this, that stuck. Just be aware. Once again, it's a very, you know, basic example, but what if you've got many people who hate KFC in the committee, or people who are McDonald's fans? You're going to destroy everything you just did by pointing towards KFC. Now, I like the idea of bringing something in everyone is going to recognize and smile about, and another argument that actually is just a joke and not an argument. But if that were a real discussion about real issue, you know, say for instance, if you're in a country like France, where religion is supposed to not be part of public life and lawmaking and stuff, and you give a brilliant speech on why a certain law should be passed, and you end it by saying, "Oh, and also it's in the Bible, so that's why we should do it," you're destroying your own cause. So be aware of that. This time it wasn't harmful, obviously. KFC, there's nothing wrong with that. But that can be a danger. Be aware of who you're talking to. And whether they will like KFC or perhaps rather be McDonald's guys or Burger King guys or Wendy's or whatever. And last but not least, Burundi. Now, the problem obviously was that you spoke right after Panama on the same topic, basically using the same words. So that was repetition of sorts. You did say Pepsi is the best. I think you even used the word taste there, but I'm not sure. You then cited quoted the proof of scientists, sort of as a proof for that. That wasn't the same argument Panama made, but the same words. And I was just like, we just heard that. And it took me about 10 seconds to realize, oh, no. What Panama said was Pepsi has the best taste because scientists devised it. What Burundi is saying, Pepsi is best, and that has been proven by scientists. At least I think that was what he was saying. But you used the same words, and I was like, yeah, we just heard that speech. And then it went on with the sugar levels, and I thought, that's sweetness again. So that's always a danger, and that's just bad luck. If Panama hadn't spoken before, nobody would have noticed that, obviously, and it was a good speech. But that's just really bad luck that Panama just basically used the same words in the same order. There's no general rule on how to work against that. Sometimes you don't even notice that Human Rights Watch is falling asleep in the back. Fair enough. Sometimes, you won't even notice that he's saying the same things because you know what you're going to say and you know the difference, but people will just hear that. And that was just really unfortunate. Apart from that good speech, it just felt like the same speech again. If you looked at it closely, though, it was a different speech. And you had a nice sort of summary at the end. You did sum up some of the things you said. People did that before you, but you're stuck for a reason. I'm not sure why I wrote that down as specifically good, but it seemed to me to be rather, precise, on point, strong summary of what was going on. Now, as we have apparently another hour left until coffee break, and as I have received the first draft resolution that you yourself have devised, and that is the draft resolution by Latvia, Japan, and the United States of America, I would suggest doing the following. It is 10:48 now. We'll break for coffee at 11:45. I'd suggest having a roll call now to establish who actually is finally here, which is going to be everyone, I think. And then handing out the draft resolution, breaking for a short while so people can read through it, then having a short debate on it, short 1-minute statements of people in favor and people against, and then breaking early for coffee to give you the chance to prepare some amendments on that resolution. Now, I can't promise we will get the second resolution printed. I sent it in as soon as I got it, but things are sometimes slow here. And so I can't promise we're going to discuss that as well. Also, I can't promise that we're going to have enough time, if we discuss it, to go through with it completely. So I'd like to discuss the first draft resolution in detail and have some amendments done, and I'd like to try to do the same for the second, to finally have a vote on which draft resolution you prefer. But I'd say let's start with the first one and see how far we can get. And to do that, I'd quickly like to perform another roll call to make sure we know who's present, and then hand out the draft resolutions. Kingdom of Belgium, Republic of Burundi, Federal Republic of Brazil, People's Republic of China, Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, Arab Republic of Egypt, Georgia, Federal Republic of Germany, Republic of Iraq, Japan, the Kyrgyz Republic, Republic of Latvia, Republic of Panama, the United States of America. That means we've got 11 countries present, which is the only number I did not account for on my list of what exactly that means for quorums. I'll have quorums for you after we handed out the draft resolution. It's only one page this time. If I could ask Kyrgyzstan this time to please come up to the table and just take the sheets of paper and just pass them around. I'll give you 10 minutes to read them, and then we'll have some short 1 minute statements each by countries to discuss pros and cons and what you like and what you don't like about that. And then you'll have some time to consider amendments. So 10 minutes reading break. Burundi, thanks for handing in the note, but I already noted you down as present because I knew you were there. Also, please be advised that preambulatory clauses are non-amendable, generally speaking. That means you can only amend those that have a number. As I didn't remind you of that yesterday, if there's any issue where you really think that needs to be changed as a country, please approach me and we'll try to figure out something before a preambulatory clause is the one thing that stops any resolution from passing. Thanks. And please, I'd really like to hear most countries speak on that. Even if it's just 2 or 3 thoughts. You can all find thoughts on this resolution. Every single country will find something to like or dislike. And so I'd really encourage every one of you to... You don't have to speak about the whole thing. You just say, oh, clause 2 is bad because... Then do that, but make sure you've got something to say about it. If you need any help finding your position, do approach me. Okay, I read the thing twice now since returning from the neighboring room, and I marked it. So even if you're a slow reader, you surely have to have finished reading it by now. And part of the experience is also to, make up speeches on the spot if all else fails. I'm going to ask countries now who wish to speak on the matter. Once again, I encourage everyone to speak. That's basically what this whole exercise is about. It is a committee and a conference, and you're supposed to discuss amongst each other, and not only when no one else is listening, because sitting next to each other, but publicly on the record, make your statements and make sure that your country's position is at least heard and on the record. That's what we're doing. Or the position of Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, which are not countries but observers, and are still present, just for your information. I promised you to give the quorum for today. We have 11 countries as that's voters present, and that means a single majority would be 6, and 2/3 majority would be 8 countries voting. But for most things, only single majorities are needed, as you know. Now, are there any countries wishing to speak? I'll split it up. No, I won't. Are there any countries wishing to speak on this draft resolution? I will give the first speech to one of the 3 sponsors. Is there anyone of the sponsors wishing to speak on this draft resolution? And I'll allow them to go slightly in overtime for that 1-minute speech limit. Any country wishing to speak on that draft resolution? Latvia. Are there any other countries wishing to speak on that draft resolution? I would look very favorably upon a country now raising their placard who is not also a sponsor, to at least have a non-sponsor reply to that. As that is not the case. Oh, they're Brazil and then United States after that. So we have Latvia, Brazil, United States of America, Amnesty International. Anyone else? We'll start with those 4, and I'll ask afterwards again whether countries might want to speak. Once again, you are now discussing this draft resolution. That means don't be broad, but rather refer to this draft resolution in your statements. And also, once more, this is on women's rights. So anything else than women's rights is sort of off topic now, and we wouldn't want that to happen. You have 1 minute each. The first speaker will be afforded some little overtime if they need it. I'll tap after 45 seconds, so you've got 15 seconds left. Try to be as precise as possible and give some ideas on how the committee could now go on after having read the draft resolution. Latvia, you have the floor for 1 minute plus a little.
Thank you, dear Chairman, distinguished delegates. This resolution was passed by the alliance of 3 countries, and what we wanted to say.
Just a quick update: this resolution was not passed; it was proposed.
Proposed.
Yeah, just for everyone to make sure you're
Proposed.
not disturbed or confused.
Okay.
I did stop the time for my intervention. Please go on.
Okay, and what we wanted to say and pay attention to is, of course, we are talking about women's rights, but in this exact resolution, we wanted to say how economical issues can be related and connected to women's rights, and how we can influence one side to make the better of another one. So, if you pay attention, we said that noting with concern that direct economic sanctions without considering the conditions of states, can infringe the following human rights, such as rights to life and others. So we wanted to pay our attention that economic sanctions are not the very first thing we can do in dealing with women's rights. And the operating clauses are calling you as the UN members to take some steps to improve some economical issues in your countries in order to make possible to implement and maintain women's rights in that exact situation. So thank you. Would like to see your amendments.
Thank you, Latvia. Brazil, you have the floor for 1 minute for your reply or for your speech.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, the delegation of Brazil wants to point out the second clause that is really good, and we believe that Brazil thinks that, especially concerning to our country, where the economical issue and the economical situation is not really stable and not really developed, we would love to figure out that really we agree with this point that we have to provide some working spots for women if there are some employment for women, so they're not sitting at home, they're not dealing with home stuff, they are working, as well as they can they can talk about their rights to have the same salary, they might have the same work conditions. Yeah, that's it. Oh, thank you.
That's it. Thank you for your speech. Before, please do already approach. But before the United States of America begin to speak, is there any other country that would like to be added to the speakers list? We've only got the United States left. We have Japan who wish to speak. Guys and girls, once more, please, everyone look at me. This is a committee meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to have people speaking on the issues. So basically, if I ask, is there anyone who wants to speak on the issue, I should see at least 75% of placards up. Whenever I ask, there's hardly anyone showing up. And then they're like, well, okay, before you get angry at me, please do consider that this is what's supposed to happen. This is all about the speeches being given here. That is basically the most important part right now. I can't force anyone to give speeches. But then again, if you don't give any speeches, it sort of goes a bit against the purpose of the whole exercise. Is that a point of order? Point of order, Egypt? Please speak up. You have been afforded the right to speak on a point of order. Yes, please. What is your point of order? Okay, that is not a point of order, although I understand now what you were trying to do. Okay, sorry. When I'm speaking and you raise your placard, that usually means you have some objection to what is going on in committee. That is either a point of order or you wish to inform me that my microphone is off and you can't hear me. Or perhaps that a fire has broken out in the back of the room, but in that case, please leave immediately and don't tell me about it first. Tell me on the way out. I'm going to ask just now for other countries wishing to be added to the speakers list, just to clarify why I was confused there. Right, are there any countries, except for Egypt, your wish has been noted, wishing to be added to the speakers list? So we've got United States, Japan, Egypt, anyone else? We've got Georgia. And we've got Côte d'Ivoire. Got Amnesty International and Brazil again. Okay. Also, be advised, whenever you think there has been enough debate on an issue or we're wasting time, delegates can raise a motion to close the speakers list. And I'm going to tell you how voting on that is going to happen then. So whenever you think there's been enough debate, you can raise a motion to close the speakers list. If not, it will expire as soon as we have reached the end of the speakers list. Sorry for making you stand so long. United States, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates, that I will be shortly. Research Country Alliance, we are ready to make a concession to other states, and we are ready to give a little bit time to support and strengthen the economy issues and to strengthen the women rights and legislation in their countries. But after, if any work don't have to done, we have a talk, take measures for them, and but firstly, we are the main point is our draft resolution is give her time, give her support. But after this, we take measures. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Once more, as a reminder, the first tap I do is just to notify that we've got 15 more seconds, so you don't need to wrap up immediately. I'll then keep tapping a bit when you're going into overtime. And when I think you're going into overtime too much, I'll just rudely interrupt you and ask you to sit down again. So no rush if I start tapping. I forgot who's next. Japan, you have the floor.
Honorable Chair, dear delegates, in our joint proposal, first of all, we propose and strongly recommend ministries of economies and other economical tools to cooperate with United Nations goals on gender equality. We demand from them to provide proper conditions for maintaining women's rights, such as providing enough quantity working places, creating special protection and support services. However, if work is not done, we will send special reporters and working groups to these countries. And only after that, we propose economic sanctions. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. Egypt, you have the floor. Also, feel free to turn this into more of a conversation. We were sort of slipping into statement reading again, which is okay, but perhaps you want to reply to something that has been said before.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, the delegation of Egypt would like to reply for Japan's quote that, and we don't think that we don't need creating special protection and support services when addressing multiple and interesting forms of discrimination against women and girls. Thank you.
Thank you, Egypt. Georgia, you have the floor.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, the delegate of Georgia would like to pay attention to the fourth clause, which is written that to cooperate only with the Western countries. The delegate of Georgia would like to suggest you to review this clause. Yeah. Thank you.
That's not how it usually goes, but would you perhaps wish to return and make clearer what you mean, review this clause? As in, it's always helpful to not just say which clause you don't like, but what exactly you don't like about them and how they could change it so you like it more. Take 10 seconds to think about it, and then I'll give you another minute to speak on that.
Okay,
if that's
thank
fine.
you very much. So the delegate of Georgia wants that it's written that the Westerns welcome Western standardized countries with a better gender equality to cooperate on developing such a strategic within national development and ATC. So the delegate of Georgia means that not only Western countries can cooperate in this plan. So just to pay attention to the regional, for example, if the only Western countries will work on gender equality, it will be uncomfortable to other countries. Got it? Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. Georgia, Côte d'Ivoire, you have the floor for 1 minute.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and dear distinguished delegates. In the draft resolution, we do talk about specific and developed countries, but what about those who follow what about those countries who follow their tradition and religious morals? We do understand that women supposed to have rights. However, we as a country who has some traditional values and follow its religion values as well cannot violate our traditions. It's stated in Quran and Bible that woman is under the man and under his protection, and man is the head of the family. So we cannot violate the rules of the religion. It might hurt our institution of family, but also our society life. Please keep that in mind while adding amendments to this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Cote d'Ivoire. I give the floor for a minute to Amnesty International for their statement. Amnesty International, please.
Distinguished delegates, dear Honorable Chair, I would like to speak. I would like to answer to the Côte d'Ivoire state about that they have some religious values, and we do understand. But still, I want to say, and I want to underline that Côte d'Ivoire is not Islamic state, and it's like secular state. So if it is this way, then it must also value all human rights. It must respect, and like I would like to say that human rights are their privilege than some traditional values. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Amnesty International. Japan, is that a point of order? Japan, what is your request for a right of reply? I'm not asking what you're trying to reply to, but why you think you have a right of reply. Okay, rights of reply are not meant for factual corrections. You can do that in later speech. Rights of reply are meant for you to speak if your country's integrity has been attacked in a way. I don't remember Côte d'Ivoire attacking Japan. You have the right, however, to hold another speech in which you argue against what Côte d'Ivoire said. But for that, you'll have to wait until the speakers list is open again. But Côte d'Ivoire has been raising their packet again. What's your point? Why do you think you ought to have right of reply? That's also a factual statement, and nothing that there has been no attack on your integrity or anything. So I will not give you the right to reply. You can, however, hold another speech. As there's no other points, Amnesty International may sit down. Before I call on Brazil to speak, are there any other countries wishing to speak? Japan, you might want to raise your placard now to correct the Côte d'Ivoire thing. I'll call Japan first because they raised their point, and then Latvia, and then if they want to speak Côte d'Ivoire. So Japan, Latvia. This is just people being added to the speakers list. We have Brazil first, after that then Japan and Latvia, and I'm still waiting if other countries are raising their placard. So the speakers list now consists of Brazil, Japan and Latvia. And if no one else is speaking, I'm going to close the speakers list afterwards and not going to add any other countries to it. All right. Brazil, you have the floor.
Going back to the second clause, the delegation of Brazil wants to point out that the proposed draft resolution was saying about cooperation on the issue of providing proper conditions. Here, the delegation of Brazil wants to point out and stress out that here we need, as a member state of the Human Rights Council, we need to think about a mechanism or a tool that might help us to provide such conditions for women in developed and developing countries. That's why the delegation of Brazil encourages all the members of today's meeting to be more active and to think about mechanism in the following speeches. And yes, in some countries, women are under the man. And respecting all the cultural values of some countries, the delegation of Brazil wants to point out that a woman still has right to get education, to work, to go out. We also, the delegation of Brazil wants to. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. Japan, you have the floor.
I want to reply to the Georgia's and Cote d'Ivoire's statements. I want to clarify a fourth clause. We welcome Western standardized countries with better gender equality to cooperate on developing strategies within national development plans. We do not violate the rights of tradition in that countries. We just want them to look at Western standards, because Western countries have developed gender rights, and in Asian and in other countries, rights of women are violated more than in Western countries. Thank you.
And I give the floor to Latvia.
Thank you. I would like just to have some point of inquiries. I would like to ask Egypt why they don't need such kind of tools and systems. Like maybe we can work more on this if Egypt would just be more specific and easy to understand. And also replying to Cote d'Ivoire's statement, I agree with Brazil that with all respect to the traditions, we would like to mention that we all here are the United Nations members, and we are guided by the principles and purposes of the Charter of the United Nations. And in this charter, we have this women's rights and human rights as well. So please just pay attention to this. And also, we would we strongly welcome other members to maybe work more on the operative clauses 6, where we say that we would like to create agreeable mandates to prevent violations of women's rights. And please, if you have some suggestions, we would be happy to hear them. Thanks.
Thank you. Seeing that the speakers list has elapsed, might there be a motion to adjourn the meeting until after the coffee break to give delegates time to work on amendments? Is there any such motion on the floor? Brazil? Motion to adjourn the meeting until after the coffee break is over. Are there any objections to that? Seeing that there are none, we will adjourn the meeting. Please wait for a second so I can tell you what the proposed new whatever time for the coffee break is, and I'll have to go through the whole. Oh, right. It's supposed to be 12 o'clock. So could we please meet here again at 12 o'clock and try to have some amendments ready? Please send them in via email to me. And on their way out, could please Japan quickly stop by? And also, as this is now the coffee break thing, Brazil and Latvia, as agreed via email earlier, we're talking about the delay and stuff. Thanks. And have Japan with me quickly for a second.
Это better gender equality тоже какая-то дискриминация. Лучше встречи желающие участвовать в этом движении.
Right, and I'll quickly take you two with me. All right. Don't worry, don't worry. It's all right. Okay.
Ладно, как скажем, есть такой список правил, human rights, какого-то общества, такой, типа, спикерс, не тоже список, ну, типа рейтинг, вот, рейтинг жанра, рейтинг тех, кого женщина соблюдается, там, я видела то, что какая-то страна, там, уже престол, есть около 200 стран, если по этим странам, вы брать в страну? Сказать, можно оставить, да? Нет. Она просто записана была, а мы же
Желающие страны сотрудничать можно написать. Il me sta senti idea meshat. Andiamo davanti. Il me sta senti idea meshat sessa. Ingo sta senti do meshat sessa. Druga slika. Vai bo sati hashtag tam astoda vai bo adre. Hashtag sagistne.
So you're saying that this is discrimination? Saying.
Okay, delegates, quickly, please. I've got good news. All delegates, please. I've got good news. We have the second draft resolution as a printout? Could you please clap? Clap, 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 clap. Thank you. That's the correct help. Yeah, that's what we're going for. I'll place it here. Please all take a copy. Read it over the course of the coffee break. We're going to extend it to 12:15, and perhaps can even have some amendment on the second one as well. Now, to make sure what we are talking about, please, the draft resolution sponsored by the United States, Latvia, and Brazil, please call that DR2. And that one, please call it DR3. So you're trying to make amendments to DR1 or DR3. Sorry, DR2 or 3. Yeah, apologies, obviously. I know it says AHRC1L5 up there, but it's not the fifth document, so I'm not sure what exactly is going on. So please call the one that says General Assembly on top, please call that DR2, and please call the other one DR3. When sending in amendments, make sure you state clearly which draft resolution you are trying to amend. And also, you have to be clear that you cannot send an amendment that will amend two draft resolutions at the same time. So we need to have separate documents for separate draft resolutions. Please, when sending in amendments, just write on top who's sort of the authors of that. And also make sure you have at least 2 more people on your side for those amendment proposals. If it's only you who does that, that's a bit weak, so to speak. So we're trying to then go through with all the amendments possible between 12:15 and 1 o'clock to have a final vote on the 2 draft resolutions. Please, therefore, only amend things you think are important and necessary. Things that have been raised with regard to the second draft resolution, or things that you read and think are really problematic with regard to the third draft resolution. You can also approach me and ask me if I think that's a good amendment proposal, because we don't have much time, and I'd like to have a final vote on DR1 or 2 before the lunch break. Brazil, is this actually your document? Yeah, but that's the document you sent me, right? Okay. I just read it, and it's very, very similar to draft resolution 2, which is okay. I'm not saying you plagiarized. I'm just saying it's very similar. So my proposal is actually we already have a draft resolution 1, which is the long printed document from yesterday. And now we have draft resolution 2. Perhaps instead of trying to amend two very similar draft resolutions, to have two amended but still very similar draft resolutions, perhaps rather let's ignore draft resolution 3, not because it's bad, but because it's just so similar, and try to make sure we amend as much of draft resolution 2 as possible, and that we can have a final vote on draft resolution 1 and 2, where you're probably going to reject draft resolution 1 and adopt your amended draft resolution 2. So please disregard this paper. I can't force you to, but that's my suggestion. Please disregard this paper and try to amend draft resolution 2 instead, because that's the one we've been talking about already. And I was not aware that the two draft resolutions are so similar that they sometimes even have, the same wording or so. Is that okay? Okay, thanks. Coffee break just started, so if you want to have some food or coffee or sweets, do that now. And don't forget to send emails to me with your amendments. Okay, I'll give you 3 more minutes, and everything I haven't received until then, we might have to disregard. Okay? Delegates, I'm uploading a document containing some amendments just now. If there's any more documents underway, please make sure I get them as soon as possible. And we'll have some minutes to consider for you to read through the amendments and consider them. And then we'll go on. Please, the sponsoring nations and bodies decide who is going to give the short presentation, as in speech, to defend the amendment. I don't want any discussion when I call them. When I call them, I want the person to stand up and go to the front and deliver the speech. Thank you. Okay. I'll give you another half a minute to decide who's going to present which amendment, and we'll then start with a 1-minute speech in favor of Amendment 1, as proposed by Georgia, Japan, Latvia, USA, and Amnesty International. Okay, who's going to give the 1-minute speech? Okay, Georgia, give the 1-minute speech. You're the first on the sponsors list. Now, we don't have time to waste. Please make up your minds. Amnesty International, go. When I call the second amendment, I want the person to stand up and go there. Please decide now who's going to give it. Amnesty International, give a 1-minute speech on the first amendment. We need to get things going because this committee is going to end soon. If we want to get anything done, we need to get things going. Now, this is an amendment for draft resolution 2, the one that says AHRC 1L.5 in the heading. It's a draft resolution sponsored by Latvia, Japan, United States of America. The amendment 1 is to change clause 4, which now says welcomes Western standardized countries with better gender equality to cooperate in developing such strategies within national development plans, stability programs, sustainable development strategies, to now say welcomes countries with higher rates of gender equality indicator willing to cooperate on developing such strategies within national development plans, stability programs, and sustainable development strategies. Amnesty International, you have the floor.
Honorable Chair and honorable delegates, we do think that the words Western standardized countries are not suitable because it may be somehow discriminating some other countries, because it is not certain that all countries who have reached some good results on gender equality are only Western countries. Because of this, we would like to change it to some countries who already have some positive results on gender equality among their countries, and this is our point, so that we will mind about only countries who have some already good results and who would like to help to other countries to reach the same positive good idea, good results on gender equality in some countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Amnesty International. Any delegate wishing to speak against the amendment? Seeing as that is not the case, we'll move into voting on this amendment. All those in favor of this amendment to substitute country with higher rates of gender equality indicator in favor of Western standardized countries. All those in favor, please raise your placard now. Please keep your placards up, because I'll count and then I'll say what's the problem. Thank you. Please take your placards down. When I say please raise your placards, please raise them immediately and raise them high. Because if we keep adding countries over the next 20 seconds after me calling that, I have to start counting again. And when then people lower them again, I have to start counting yet again. So please, this is voting procedure. You shouldn't be doing anything else than paying attention to what I'm saying. And when I ask countries to raise their placard, do that. All those against the amendment, please raise your placard now. All those abstaining? Please raise your placards immediately. We're going to take the whole vote again because I have no idea of numbers anymore. Everybody take down your placards. Take them down, way down. We are voting on the Amendment 1 to change Clause 4 of this draft resolution. All those in favor of this amendment, please raise your placard high now. All those against? All those abstaining? This amendment passes with 9 for it and 2 countries abstaining. Can I please call the speaker for the second amendment? The second amendment wants to change Clause 6. Clause 6 said, until now, suggests readdressing to the previous clause to request the Security Council to create agreeable mandates to prevent the violation of women's rights. It's supposed to say now, suggests redressing to the previous clause to request the Human Rights Watch to create agreeable mandates to prevent the violations of women's rights.
Thank you, dear Chair. So basically, we are changing the Security Council to Human Rights Watch, since we talked to Human Rights Watch representatives, and he said that it would be more suitable, and so we just amended this small part. And please, if you agree, vote in favor. Thanks.
Any delegates wishing to speak against that? Let me quickly point out that Human Rights Watch has no international mandate, and none they can create would force any countries to comply. If you wish to create a mandatory mandate, that would have to be done through the United Nations. I'm not sure Security Council is necessarily the right spot, but Security Council is the spot if you want this to be a military mandate to enforce human rights. Human Rights Watch is not, they are an observer organization. They can observe, but they cannot enforce anything. You can still vote for this amendment. I just put it to you that the change makes it weaker than it was before. As I see no motion to withdraw this amendment, all those in favor of this amendment, please raise your placard now. All those against, please raise your placard now. And raise it high. All those abstaining, please raise your placard now. This motion fails with 2 votes in favor, 6 against, and 3 abstentions. So the old text to 6 remains unchanged. And I'll quickly have to note that down. At the same time, the speaker for Amendment 3 can please get ready.
Dear Chair, honorable delegates.
And wait until she's given the floor. This is an amendment on clause 7 to be changed. The old clause 7 says request the working groups to take action on states violating women's rights by developing special rapporteurs and sending them to Security Council. The new clause 7 is supposed to read request the working groups to take actions on states violating women's rights by developing special rapporteurs and sending individual special rapporteurs to those countries. Please, Japan, you have the floor.
We want to change this clause to request working groups to take actions on state violating women's rights by developing individual by requesting and sending individual special rapporteurs to the countries that need gender equality, not to Security Council.
Any delegate wishing to speak against that proposal? That's not the case. I'll move into voting. All those in favor of this proposal to change clause 7, please raise your placards now. All those against? All those abstaining? This amendment passes with 9 votes in favor of it and 2 votes against it. So the speaker for Amendment 4 can please get ready. Amendment, please get ready and wait until I give you the floor. Amendment 4 is an amendment on clause 8, which, an amendment to add clause 8, sorry. The new clause 8 should say, strongly recommends states, in the case of not following mentioned above, to take measurements to control the maintenance gender equality. Before I allow a vote or a debate on this sentence will have to be formatted accordingly to be an English sentence. Also, I suppose you want to take measures and not measurements, because measurements would mean considering how long a country is. My measurements are 2 meters. Measures are things that are being taken. Could the sponsors please approach the desk quickly so we can fix this sentence? Strongly recommends 2 states. Whom do you send the representative?
As state United Nations member states.
Exactly.
In case of not having mentioned above,
Okay, that's not the new sentence. In the case of not following mentioned above, that's not the new sentence. What do you mean? What do you mean by in the case of not following mentioned above?
If the United States following ignorance this amendments not to that to take the measures.
Not doing what?
Ignorance of
which things? You need to say which things they need to follow. You can't just say you can't just say if a country ignores something. You need to specify what they need to follow.
If there violates gender equality.
So you mean strongly recommends the states in the case of violating gender equality?
Women's rights.
Okay. We need to put this into a formula. I need to know what you want to say with that. We've got 2 options. You can either sit down and write the whole thing again from scratch and make sure it's okay this time, or we can try to do it here, but then you keep changing the words. Okay. I'll make sure I format the resolution as it stands right now. We are currently working on rephrasing the Amendment 4 to make it into a full and complete English sentence that actually focuses on something, and then we'll vote on that. And please, before submitting it via email, just quickly check, or after submitting, just check with me so we can work out any other issues that still might be open.
We thought that the session was over. I'm just the simple delegate. I'll go up. No.
This committee is in session until otherwise declared by the chair or voted upon by delegates. The schedule states that sessions will take until 1 o'clock, and until then, I suppose I expect this committee to be in session.
Right.
Thank you.
I'm just the rebel delegate.
Okay, please close the door behind you.
Yeah. Good luck protecting.
Thank you. Please close the door. Okay, try to say your own words. Don't use any high language. Try to say what exactly you're trying to do by this clause. Okay, if there's a country not complying with the other clause, that was saying. Okay, hang on. Not all those clauses ask countries to do something. So there are, hang on. So there are clauses countries cannot follow. So you can't say if they don't follow all those above, because they can't follow all those above. For instance, countries, if the Human Rights Council recognizes something, that's nothing countries can adhere to or whatever. You must make clear and specific which of those requests.
Which of this above?
Because as far as I see it, number 7 requests something, and number 3 calls upon, but it doesn't call upon countries. It seems to call upon committees, right? Have I got the right document at all? Could you have a look at the? So, where's the resolution we're talking about? Okay. Right. Yeah. So there's only 2 clauses that actually call upon someone or do something, and clause 3 calls upon UNDP and other UN committees. That's not countries. Clause 7 requests working groups to do something. That's not countries either. So there's nothing in the document that calls upon countries to do something. And so you can't say that if countries don't comply, they'll be punished, because there's nothing to comply with.
Maybe a clause from the UNDP also.
To do what?
To take a measure.
Also, apart from that, I don't really understand the sense of that clause. So all you're saying is, if a country, I think what I'm trying to say is, if a country doesn't do gender equality, we call upon them to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Either make that a clause. Well, so first of all, mentioned above needs to go. There's nothing mentioned above that. You could enter something like calls upon countries not suited in a way congruent with clause 2 or whatever. But I don't see some of the benefit of that. I'd leave it out completely.
Just,
Okay. Okay, so the US have withdrawn their Amendment 4, and that means that we are all done for amendments. I will now post the finalized version of this document, which has not yet been edited to the standards of UN resolutions. But don't worry, this is going to be done after we voted upon it by the Secretariat. I'm now going to upload this document along with the other resolutions we have not yet voted upon. So those on all the different agenda items. There's going to be 3 for the agenda items A to C, so 1 each. And there's going to be 2 for the last one. And we will then have to ratify, as is, vote and pass those resolutions as a committee, and then be done, basically. I'll quickly upload that. Give me 3 minutes. I'll upload the first, then the second, then the third, and so forth. You can start checking them, but basically they should be the amended documents from yesterday, so there shouldn't be too many troubles. If you've noted something yesterday, you can always divide the question, or you can now request a roll call vote to have a recorded vote that says who voted in favor and who voted against it. Just give me 5 minutes to upload the things one by one and go through them quickly again, and then we'll vote. Delegates, if you're using the internet right now, please stop using it for a minute because it's slow, and in order to upload the documents, I need to have access. It's working already. I've now uploaded the first 2 documents. You may look at them quickly, and if I fail uploading the third one, I'll ask you to stop looking at them again. Please look at the L.1 document first, although it's further down, because that's the first one to be voted upon. Dear delegates, all documents are online right now. Please have another look at them. We'll start with document 1, then continue with documents 2, 3, 4, and obviously 5. We'll now move into voting on the document labeled AHRC 1L.1. Amended. It's the draft resolution on agenda item A on countering terrorism, on protecting human rights while countering terrorism. The first operative clause is calls upon states to ensure that any measure taken to counter terrorism complies with international law, in particular international human rights, refugee and humanitarian law. Is there any delegate requesting for the whole resolution to be read? This is not the case, so we'll move into voting right away. Once again, you have the right to vote yes, no, or abstain. Please pay attention now. We're going to vote on the first draft resolution. If this resolution passes, it is an official document of the Human Rights Council, a passed resolution that we have decided upon. Dear delegates, all those in favor of passing this resolution, please raise your placard now. All those against? All those abstaining? Congratulations, the first resolution passes unanimously. You may clap now. We'll then move on to the second resolution. This is a resolution and the only resolution on agenda item B, protecting human rights while in the context of transnational businesses. The first operative clause, which is on page 2, says, welcomes the work of the working group on the issue of human rights in transnational corporations and other business enterprises, the fulfillment of its mandate, including the convening of regional forums to discuss challenges and lessons learned from implementation of the guiding principles on business and human rights with states and other stakeholders in the regional context. Is there any delegate wishing that the whole resolution be read? This is not the case. Now we're going to start voting on it. All those in favor of this resolution passing, please raise your placards now. All those against? All those abstaining? This motion passes with 10 yes votes and 1 no vote. You may now also clap. We're now going to move to vote on the third resolution, L.3. This is the only resolution. The only resolution on the third agenda item as well, human rights and indigenous peoples, with the first operative clause saying welcomes the report of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights and the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and requests the High Commissioner to continue to submit the Human Rights Council an annual report on the rights of indigenous peoples containing information on relevant developments in human rights bodies and mechanisms and the activities undertaken by the Office of the High Commissioner at headquarters in the field that contribute to the promotion of respect for and the full application of the provisions of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and follow up on the effect of the declaration. I hope you understood everything of that. Is there anyone requesting that the whole resolution be read at a similar speed? No, thank you for that. All delegates in favor of that resolution, please raise your placard now. All those against, please raise your placard now. All those abstaining, please raise your placard now. This resolution passes with 8 yes votes, no votes, and 3 abstentions. You may clap once more. And I'll finally ask you to pay special attention. We have 2 more documents left. These are the 2 resolutions on agenda item D on women's rights. The first one is the document L.4, the other document L.5, which we just discussed and amended. Be advised that if one document passes, the other one is automatically considered to be rejected. We are going to vote on documents in the order that they appear on the order paper. So we're going to vote on L.4 first and then on L.5. I'll give you 2 more minutes to consider which of those you prefer, just to make sure you vote on the right one. If for any reason both should fail, we can, by a 2/3 majority vote, agree to reconsider one of those resolutions. If this vote fails as well, the vote to reconsider or the vote on the resolution again, I won't take another vote on reconsidering a resolution that failed twice. Then we will end this agenda item without passing any resolution, which is also an option. Please take a minute to consider which of the 2 is the one you're going to vote for. Okay, we're now going to vote on the first of those resolutions. We're going to vote on resolution L.4 first. This is the resolution that whose first operative clause reads, takes note of the report of the working group on the issue of discrimination against women in law and in practice with regard to health and safety and the work undertaken since its establishment. Does anyone request the whole resolution to be read? It's not the case. So we're going to vote on this resolution now. All those in favor of passing this resolution, please raise your placard now. All those against, please raise your placard now. All those abstaining, please raise your placard now. We'll have to retake the vote because I don't have 11 people who voted. Once more, all those in favor, please raise your placard now. Surprise. All those against, please raise your placard now. All those abstaining, please raise your placard now. Now it adds up. This resolution is rejected with 9 no votes and 2 abstentions. We're now going to vote, therefore, on resolution L.5. The first operative clause of which reads, recognize that civil society organizations, including independent women's organizations and human rights defenders, do important work in promoting full equality in all aspects of life, including women's health and eliminating violence against women and girls, and that they therefore require support for their sustainability, safety, and growth. Does anyone require the whole resolution to be read? No. Then we're going to vote on this resolution. All those in favor of passing this resolution, please raise your placards. All those against, please raise your placard. All those abstaining, please raise your placard. This motion passes with 10 yes votes in spite of 1 no vote. Congratulations. We've now concluded work on all 4 agenda items. You may clap, and there's going to be a closing statement. So, dear delegates, dear observers, thank you for the work over the course of the last 3 days. It's been chaotic at times, and it's been intense at times. And I know people have been putting in a lot of work overnight, so thank you for that. It's been a pleasure. It's been hard at times. I do hope that in the end, we managed to get all people on board in the sense of getting everybody to have at least some idea of what's going on and what those crazy words like agenda items mean and what a resolution is and what a motion is, an amendment, bless you, and all those things. I hope you have been somewhat enlightened. I hope you have not been too much frustrated by procedural matters. They are just a necessity of this kind of stuff. We've got rules of procedure that need to be followed. I do hope you had some fun. I do hope you met nice people and got to talk to them. And I do hope you'll stay in contact. I do also hope this has been an inspiring event for you. I do hope you will all move on to be changes or forces for change for good in the world, be it on a small scale or on a big scale. Who knows, maybe one of you might be the next Secretary General of the real UN, or probably not the next, but the one in, I don't know, 30 years time or so. Anyway, I hope this has not been something that put you off from doing MUNs totally and forever. Thank you for your cooperation. This has been a very amiable conference. You tried to reach consensus basically all the time, which is good on the one hand. It would be great if the United Nations could do that. On the other hand, I'd like to say to you generally, be aware that many times you did not really represent what your country stands for. Even in voting just now, especially thanks and my admiration to Egypt for saying no to this last resolution, although I suppose you personally are very much in favor of women's rights. So a small applause to you for actually sticking with your country position for the last 2 days. Congratulations on that. And a small applause, or actually a big one, to all of you for the work you've done. I suppose for many of you, it has been the first or second MUN you've been doing. Don't be discouraged. Keep doing those conferences. You'll learn, you'll grow. And if the conference is just not good, you'll at least meet lovely people and have new friends. And whenever you go to places, you'll know people there you can visit and have a drink with. So that's always worth something. Thanks for all your work. There are going to be 2 people who will be given awards later. I am not sure if I will be allowed to make verbal commendations, which are basically just in my short speech introducing the committee, say or point out to a few countries who've done especially good. I will be sending, or I invite you, if you want some feedback on how you've done over the course of the conference, to just send me a message, and I'll happily and gladly send you feedback. Please don't be angry if that takes some time. Just imagine everyone sends me the feedback request at the same time. And I do have one or two other things to do when I return home. I will give you feedback. I've taken notes. For some of you, it might be very precise. For others, a bit more broad. I apologize for all those I cannot give any precise feedback to. It's sometimes hard to keep track of many people doing things at the same time. So I'm trying my best. I hope you have not been too frustrated with me. I certainly have not been too frustrated with you. That's a good sign. And with that, I've said everything I wanted to say. Is there a motion to suspend, and that is end the meeting? No? Okay, so this well, you can go on. I mean, I've just... Apparently, the General Assembly that was supposed to meet for its plenary session an hour ago starts meeting about now. So there seems to be a motion, which I'll consider in a second. If you wish to be a visitor to the plenary session, please feel free to go to room 208. 208. If you enter, please be quiet, because they might be in session already. And you'll only be visitors, as this is only for the members of the main committee as delegates. Is there a motion to suspend this meeting? Côte d'Ivoire. You just suspended. Motion to suspend the meeting. All the no. All those in favor, please raise your placard. All those against? This motion clearly passes. And with this meeting and this session of the Human Rights Council is over, and you will receive the invitation for the next session. Thank you very much. Actually, I'm not sure they are still meeting, because just now the section said something about lunch. Perhaps just walk past the 208 room and see if something is going on. And also keep an eye out for the NU Iman Facebook group, because Facebook, yeah, it's a group, because they might announce the venue and time for the closing ceremony there. It's supposed to start at 2:30, and as far as I know, it's supposed to start in the auditorium downstairs. But that's as far as I know, and as you've been aware, things had to change sometimes over the course of the last days. So please keep an eye open whether there's any announcements on that Facebook group, or if volunteers keep pushing you around, ask them if they know what they're doing, and if they do follow them. Thank you.
Understandable for me. I was not so like understanding what's going on, but like these last things I'd like to get it. I would like to see next time to participate in. Please do. And to be like prepared, and
right.
I really have a desire to participate next time like whether.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You may take your placards home with you if you want to.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Thank you for trying to fix all.
Hang on, I'll just come down. I feel bad accepting your congratulations sitting on my throne over here. By the way, we can stop that bloody live stream now.